Hi guys, how you all doing? Welcome to St James's Park, where I'm here with some big update, some big quotes from Eddie Howe post-match here following Newcastle's 2-2 draw against Espanyol tonight. Of course, 90% of the questions surrounded Alexander ISAK. I'm going to get into it in a second. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. Leave your comments below. This is a massive talking point that's been going on for a few weeks now. I think we're all fed up talking about it, but there's been another twist tonight in what Eddie Howe has said post-match, and the first time he's spoken since he returned from South Korea last weekend. So yeah, leave your comments below, give a thumbs up, please subscribe if you haven't done already, and let me get into it. So, right, Eddie, firstly, the first thing to say is Eddie was being very, very careful with his words tonight. You could tell he was not so much stepping on eggshells, but trying to make sure he wasn't taking himself into a certain place. What he repeated a few times was he cannot select Alexander ISAK at the moment, and he can't have him training with the team. He said every part of him would love ISAK to be playing tonight, training tomorrow, be at his disposal and be able to select him, but he's not in a position to do that. Now, he stopped short of saying the player is refusing to train or the player is going on strike. He didn't use any words like that, but he did suggest or intimate that he was unable to use Alexander ISAK. Now, you have to read between the lines there. It was quite strong stuff. Is he intimating that ISAK is refusing to be involved in the group, or is he suggesting that someone else is deciding it? But he was at pains to say it's not his decision. Every part of his being wants him as part of the group, and he is a Newcastle player. He got asked if he's played his last game for the club, and he said, well, no, as far as I'm concerned, he's a Newcastle player. I want him to remain. But it clearly sounds as though the decision has been taken out of Eddie Howe's hands. And look, my reading of the situation is that the decision is being made by the player as to what's happening. He said, look, the facts are he's training later than the rest of us, and I can't involve him in tonight's game. So that would suggest to me that's a decision by either the player or perhaps the hierarchy at the club. But it's obviously something that's not sitting well with Eddie Howe at the moment, and you can see that he's stressed. You can see it's been difficult for him. I mean, really, really difficult to be missing his best player and to have all this chatter and speculation and noise surround the situation. Of course, we saw the pictures on Wednesday of Alexander ISAK arriving to training at 4 o'clock after the rest of the players were gone. Now, I was led to believe at that point that was a decision by the club rather than a decision by ISAK himself. I have to say what Eddie has said tonight maybe calls that into question a little bit. Was that maybe Alexander's decision to come in later? It's difficult to tell, but you know, look, it's a really delicate and awkward situation, this, because as I say, Eddie was choosing his words carefully. But he did say that, you know, as it stands, as things are, he won't be available for the match against Aston Villa next weekend, the first game of the season down at Villa Park next Saturday, and he says he doesn't see that changing. So I mean, that sounds pretty damning, doesn't it? The fact that, you know, he's not around and he's not available for that game, and he doesn't expect a change to that. He was also asked about his fitness, because remember, ISAK pulled out of the pre-season tour to South Korea with what he said was a thigh injury, and he's been receiving treatment over in Spain. I think. Eddie said he's not. He admitted tonight and confirmed that he's not got an injury and he is fit and he would be able to play, but he is not able to select him. And again reiterated how much he would have loved to have been able to select him tonight and see him train tomorrow. But that's not happening at the moment. He says conversations have taken place since he returned from Korea, but left it vague like that. I mean, my reading of that situation, it sounds to me, unless there's a huge change, that Alexander ISAK has probably played his last game for Newcastle United. unless we get to the end of the transfer window and Liverpool or any other interested parties have not put up the money that Newcastle are looking for. Because if you've got a player there who you can't pick or can't select, then what's the point in keeping them? But at the same time, Newcastle want the value as well. So it's a really, really complicated, delicate situation, and it sounds as though Eddie has just got no power in this situation at all, which is a real shame for a guy who's done so much for the career of Alexander ISAK. You know, he's improved him massively since he came. He's a little bit raw when he arrived, and he's moulded him and improved him. And you look at Eddie and you think he deserves to enjoy the fruits of his labour, working hard on ISAK for 3 years, making him into the player he's got now. But to see him either A, not being available for selection, or B, moving on to pastures new when he doesn't want to lose him, must be really, really difficult to take. So look, ISAK won't be involved tomorrow. He pretty much said he won't be involved against Aston Villa unless Liverpool come in and make an offer that unless Liverpool don't come back in, you know, there's a chance. It feels to me like he's probably played his last game for the club, and it's a sad situation. It's really a sad situation for a guy who absolutely adored by you guys as fans. All you do is you walk along the street in Newcastle in the city centre and you see people with Newcastle shirts with ISAK on the back. My little nephew's got one. Brought him to a game here last season, and his surname's Wilson, and he wanted Wilson on the back, but I said no, ISAK's the man. You want to get ISAK. He's got ISAK in the back of his shirt. You see ISAK 14 everywhere. All these kids who absolutely adore him. And if he does leave, he's going to leave under a cloud, and it's really, really sad for it to potentially end like this. It would be difficult, in my opinion, now for ISAK to come out and play here at St James's Park in front of the Gallowgate after everything that we're hearing and everything that we're reading between the lines. And it's so sad that it's come to this. I mean, look, he scored the winner for you guys in the cup final, your first trophy in 7 long decades. He's etched into club folklore. He'll go down in history. And to leave under a cloud, God, this is, if this happens, or even if he doesn't leave, to stay and to potentially try and play on after this, the way he's conducted himself, it doesn't bear thinking about, really. It's a really, really, really difficult and sad situation. So let's see what changes. I mean, look, Liverpool might not come back in, they might not offer enough money. ISAK might change his view on things. He might suddenly become available to train, but it sounded pretty cut and dry the way Eddie was speaking today, that he's not going to be able to use him or have him train with the group. He also said that the group have been affected by this. He goes, look, they're a great group. They all work so hard together, and they've got great chemistry and team ethic. He goes, but you can just sense that there's something there that's just niggling away. He didn't use those exact words, but words to those effect. He said you can sense within the players that there's an issue there and there's something there. Interestingly, I put a post up tonight on the way in of Bruno Guimaraes arriving, and said it's good to see someone he's still smiling, and I noticed Bruno liked it afterwards. So maybe just a little nod there from Bruno to the fact that, look, they're still trying to smile through what's been a very, very difficult time. So, aside from ISAK, Eddie said, look, this can still be a strong window. He's hopeful of new players before the Aston Villa game, which is what you want to know everywhere I went tonight. Are we signing new players? He said he's hopeful. He's not confident, because if you can't be confident after what's happened these last couple of months, but he's hopeful they can get new faces, or at least a new face in before the Aston Villa game. He says they can still salvage the window, and look, if anyone can do it, it's Eddie Howe. Like, he's come back a couple of times from really difficult situations here, even one just last December when you were down mid-table, and he's managed to turn things around. He can do it again. He can bring everyone together. And look, I thought there was real positive signs tonight. Like, I thought Ramsdale looked good in goals. He's really assured with the ball at his feet. Really good penalty save. I think he's a good sign, and I've said it all along. He's got the experience, he's a good age, he's got good experience. I think to get him on a loan deal like that with an option next summer, honestly, I think it was a no-brainer. I'm actually surprised it took Newcastle so long to go for him, to move away from Trafford and go for him. But I think it's a good signing. He did well tonight. Really liked the new South Korean lad on the left-hand side. Was quick, cut past the defenders a couple of times and got crosses in, so he might be someone who can be around the squad, maybe on the bench. Let's see what happens. Still not convinced about Asula at all. Just He's raw. He had one chance in the second half. He's still got a lot to learn, and he's not a kid anymore. Like, he's over 20. Like, we need to be seeing more from him, especially given the fact he's the only striker to select from at the moment. I thought Miley was very good in midfield. He's filled out even further than last year. Great little jinking run and hung up cross for Target's goal. Word for Matt Target as well. Well done getting forward from left back. Lovely moment for him. Spoke to him before the game. Had a bit of a laugh about the getting left in soul thing. He said it was crazy how big it got. Nice to see him score. But obviously a lot of the players weren't here tonight, and we'll see the likes of Gordon and Tonali, the new signing Elanga and Botman. Eddie says he'll play tomorrow. Botman tomorrow. Joe Linton, Livramento, Trips. We'll see all these lads tomorrow. So it feels like there'll be a stronger team tomorrow against Atletico than there was tonight. So yeah, look, lots to talk about, lots to divulge, lots to take in, but really strong stuff from Eddie there afterwards, where he wouldn't go as far as saying he's refusing to train or he's gone on strike, but he said, look, he said, I can't have him as part of the group and it's not my decision. So read between the lines, leave your comments below. Cheers for listening and watching.